is, Mark, is that while so much of the world is virtual and so many of us spend hours on these Zoom things all day long, you and I get to be, and 1,000 other people get to be in the same place next week, and not just any place, but San Diego.
Which the weather is just terrible there. I mean, you can't,
right?
You just can't tolerate it.
I'm hoping my father, became a snowbird at some point, always made sure that the first thing he said when he got on the phone with me was, "What's the weather back there?"
Right. It's terrible. I mean, right now it is 40 and raining.
Yes.
But you're in, on a.
I'm 3/4 of the way to San Diego. I'm in Arizona,
right,
and it's gorgeous here. But I'm super excited for you, Mark, because next week you get to spend the week with, I think, 2,500 of your closest friends.
Yeah, so it'll be 2,000 entrepreneurs there in attendance, in addition to our team and sponsors. So we have the EOS conference coming up, and as you said, it's in San Diego. It has morphed into EOS Week. It started to be that way last year in Indianapolis, where we've had rocket fuel events on Monday and Tuesday. We had how to be a great boss workshops. And so we just keep on expanding that. In the pre-conference, which I'm doing a talk at the pre-con, you're doing a talk at the pre-con, I think, right?
No, I'm doing a talk at the conference, the actual conference itself.
On Thursday or
Friday morning.
Friday, yeah. So, and that's really the distinction, is that it no longer is pre-conference and then conference. I mean, the attendance for the pre-conference talks are standing room only. Last year I tried to walk in, it was your talk, and I was like the back of people as soon as I opened the door, and it smelled like a sweat box. So I was like, I'm out.
that was mostly me, actually. I sweat a lot when I'm presenting. Flop sweat.
Right. Point being is that this thing has just taken off. It's morphed into this whole, really, a celebration of entrepreneurism, of just having a lot of fun. And so I fully expect that we'll repeat that fun this year.
Well, and San Diego is that kind of place. But I do want to talk a bit about it. I've been there once as an attendee and now twice as a speaker. And it is exactly as you described it. It's beyond EOS. It's really about entrepreneurship as a whole. Yeah. Strong focus, obviously, on EOS. But it's what it's sometimes a thing is another thing. So EOS is a filter or a magnet for people who are serious about building their business. So it's really a conference for people who are serious about building their business. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's a fun group of people, a lot of great energy, and I'm very tickled to be part of it.
Yeah, it's just going to be a ton of fun. And we do plan on it. It's going to be a step change difference in 25, though. We will have, as you said, about 2,500 total people, about 2,000 tickets. There's a huge wait list already. But 2025, we're going to over 3,000. And, those tickets, they sell out super fast. It's just, it's a good problem to have. It's a lot of fun. I would say that, just to give you a little bit of history of the conference, which I'm not sure that you know it, is that, and it could be interesting for people to hear, is that Gino Wickman, our founder, he would always teach about EOS purity, which basically means, hey, we're just going to do it like it's taught in the books, right? We're going to implement these tools the way people are reading about them. And it's all based in first principles, and people just have the overwhelming propensity to screw first principles up and think we're smarter than physics. So he's like, at one day, all of your clients are going to be in the room together. And wouldn't it be embarrassing if implementer A and implementer B, their clients start talking and they find out that it's not EOS that they're running, it's Mark OS or it's Lewis OS or some version of it, and they're going to feel a little gypped. They're going to feel a little like, hey, they were ripped off a little bit.
So it was a kind of improvement through embarrassment.
Improvement through embarrassment. So two implementers, Alex Freitag and Tom Bauer, decide, hey, we're going to actually do what Gino is suggesting will happen at some point in the future. And so they created that conference. I think it was 2017. There was maybe little less than 300 people that showed up to the first one, and it kept growing from there. And every year just gets bigger and more exciting and more fun.
Well, we've been around entrepreneurship a while. In some ways, entrepreneurship keeps changing, and in some ways, it never changes.
Yeah.
And there's always a group of people who are the new group of entrepreneurs, the new group of world changers. Some of them have been doing it for 20 years, and some are 1 year. But they're always that group of current entrepreneurs, nose to the grindstone, making it happen group. Mm-hmm. And they're what's always the same about them is they're always looking for good ideas to grow their company.
Always
and then what's different about
always looking for an edge.
Yeah. And well, it's funny, in Edge, it's almost like they want to make sure that everyone doesn't know something they don't know. I guess you could look at it the other way. They want the edge on everybody. I think part of it is they just want to make sure they're not the only one who doesn't know.
Yeah, the FOMO.
Yeah. And then the part, though, that I think is changing, which I'll be talking about at the conference, is, there are big things that happen in the world. I think the amount of capital is changing how we run our businesses. And I know that you're going to do some talking about, the hottest topic, which is AI. And so while the energy and the kind of thing of like, how do you build a company is always present, and everyone always wants to know how do you build a company today, there are things that changed from 20 years ago. I think 25 years ago, capital was not as big and as present and as kind of much of a partner in entrepreneurial pathways. And obviously AI didn't exist. So what's your take on how entrepreneurship is changing these days, and where must we pay attention if we want to keep up?
Well, I think you're definitely right that the texture of capital availability is changing. And I would say, though, that if you kind of take the long lens of it, it's probably not that much different, but it's certainly different now, or it's beginning to be different now for lots of different reasons, for demographic reasons, with this transfer of wealth occurring. So you have all those dynamics, but I think that one of the things that stays the same in entrepreneurism is that it doesn't actually change that much. We just think it does. You just take the introduction of electricity and AI. Pretty much the same conversations that people were having 100 years ago, a little more than that, about electricity. It's going to put us out of business. It's, the jobs are going to disappear because I don't have to crank the crank or ride the horse, or, the introduction of automobile, to AI. And we just continuously adapt over long periods of time to whatever that new thing is. We take the good, sometimes with the bad, and we figure out from a creative perspective to leverage it to our way. So I think the undying, really, first principle of entrepreneurism is human ingenuity and creativity, and creating abundance for everyone else in the world. I think that will just never change. We just happen to be in a little bit of a step change in terms of capital, in terms of technology, that coming together makes it feel maybe different than certainly our lifetimes, but not the lifetimes of entrepreneurs past. And you look at companies that have been created over the last 100 years, 99.9999% of them are gone.
Of course.
It's like 0.001% of companies survive 100 years or longer. And so it's just rinse, wash, and repeat over and over again. So it's a really bad, long answer to, I don't think anything is really fundamentally changing. We just think it is. And then the real question is, well, how do you manage that as you go forward and understand where you are today?
Well, I wanted to talk about the conference, but now you've gotten me down this thing I want to talk to you about. Okay. So I hear everything you're saying. I also think that one person, one man or woman, can do more in an 8-hour day than they used to be able to do because of all the tech. And so I found myself yesterday, transferring money to a bank account while like e-signing a document, while this, while that. And in the old days, it would have been, 20 minutes to sign a document and 30 minutes to go to the bank, blah, blah, blah. And so I get so much more done in a day thanks to tech. But I did read this thing that I think you'd like yesterday about David Autor, MIT professor, who says AI is not the enemy of the middle class as it has been proposed, that AI will allow a less skilled worker to make a bigger contribution because that person will be aided by AI. Sure. Maybe that person's less educated, maybe they're just not as bright, or something that in the past it would have been, they made a modest contribution to their company. Aided by AI, they can make it important and powerful. So he sort of says there's this less skilled middle class that will benefit a lot from AI. So what do you think about all of that? Me saying, one man, one woman can get so much more done than they used to, and him saying this will enable an entirely a devalued group of people.
I would generally agree with that is certainly possible. Can be more productive doesn't mean you will be. So I think the technology does exist for us to be wildly more productive today than we were 25 years ago. The reality is we're not. Take the 15 years of GDP output per person in the United States prior to 2007. So 15 years prior to 2007, 40% growth in production. Then we take 2007 to now, post iPhone, and we see, yes, an increase in productivity, but it's slowing pretty significantly because I think we are just totally inundated with distraction and doing useless scrolling, and we are losing our ability to focus. I mean, you take just the number of ADHD diagnoses and drug therapy. It's gone up 14x since 2002. 14 times increase in the instance of ADHD diagnosis and therapy since 2002. And it was being assessed, back in the 1950s. It's not like we all of a sudden, we always had this, and it's,
I don't know. I think that there's more, obviously, when society is more comfortable saying some form of mental illness is not such a big deal, then all of a sudden more people have that mental illness.
Well, yes, and that's sort of like the Romeo and Juliet effect in terms of if you report suicides in a newspaper, all of a sudden bunch of people start killing themselves, which is true, and that does happen. So the more people you meet with ADHD, the more people all of a sudden have ADHD. I don't think that's the case because at our current trajectory, 130% of the United States population will have ADHD by 2035. Like
they may. I mean,
it's not real.
It's very prevalent. It's very prevalent to begin with, and then technology is making us very ADHD. So yeah, it's almost possible.
Well, obviously, it can't go over 100%, but you maybe legal versus
CEO of an important company, folks. Reminding us that you can never have more than 100% of the population have something.
Hey, call it like I see it. Well, I mean, my point is that due to neuroplasticity and all of this input, we were talking about context switching earlier before we hit the live stream. I just think that while we can be more productive, the tools exist for us to be more efficient, more productive. Generally speaking, we don't. Because we don't have the habits, we don't have the disciplines on a regular daily basis to make that true, because we have all of the attention gremlins that are occurring. And so to me, to get back to the original question is, sure, could it make a blue collar worker more productive, who didn't go to the right schools or read the right books and ask AI, and they can accomplish something they couldn't before? Sure. But will they? Probably not. And
well, it wouldn't be so much their decision. I mean, if let's take an X-ray.
Sure.
What if the X-ray is going to be read by six-figure medical doctor, radiologist, or can be read by a lower level worker who gets paid 50, 60, 80 grand, who's aided by AI and can do the same quality work as a multi-year trained, multi-$100,000 radiologist. The system will start to choose the lower level person because it's more economically efficient if the results are the same.
If the results are the same. And we know that there's lots of problems within AI that exist today, mainly hallucinations. It cannot recognize it doesn't know an answer, so it makes one up. So would you rather a human who is saying, hey, I've never seen this before, say we need to investigate further, or an AI to make up a solution? Oh, we're just amputate his leg. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably people do that too, probably.
Well, they probably do, but there's an inherent unreasonable view that AI is right.
Right. That's how. Now let's switch to a similar version of AI robotics. So I'm in Phoenix, where there's a company called Waymo. Has these automated cars. I have been in the back of a car with nobody driving it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it gets you to your destination. It's a perfectly good driver. By the way, it can be a little aggressive when it needs to be a little aggressive, which you'd think that they'd set it for not. But actually, if it needs to jet out into the highway, it does it.
It does it.
And of course, everyone's freaked out and everyone has fun getting in the back of these cars and being like, oh my God, this is terrifying.
Take pictures
It'll
of
switch.
Yeah.
It'll switch. I'll be more comfortable getting in the car driven by a robot than I will by a person at some point.
Yeah.
It'll switch, so right now we're afraid of the tech, or in the case of AI, you're saying we're too confident in the AI. But these things switch over, they cross over.
Yeah, they do cross over, and that's why I think there's some validity to it. I think more likely to have happen is that middle-class worker will realize that they can go get a welding certificate and make six figures and spend $8 grand on the welding certificate. It's not even that. And I think more likely that middle-class type person will figure out that they can make a lot more doing work that they're better suited for versus trying to make it up with AI.
Well, we will find out. And then, of course,
we will find out. Yes.
Now, in our closing minutes, I do want to go back to the EOS conference. We talked about it being a really important gathering of entrepreneurs and of ideas that are important to entrepreneurs today. What are the trends you're seeing? Well, this is a two-part question. One is a company that's running on EOS generally a reflection of entrepreneurship, period? Or is there something special about companies that tend to go the way of EOS?
Yeah. So our average client grows 37% per year, which is obviously bigger than the average. And we are doing selection. Our target market is that 10 to 250 employees. Some are smaller, some are definitely bigger. But they're growth-oriented people, and we're selecting them based on that psychographic profile of our target market. So they're growth-oriented, they're ambitious, they're learners, they want to grow a team, they're frustrated, they want some help, so they're open-minded, they're willing to be open, honest, and vulnerable with the implementer and their team. So what you end up with is a collection of over 2,000 open-minded, growth-oriented entrepreneurs who are driven, and so many of them end up sharing our core values. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a VTO, a vision traction organizer of one of our clients, and they have one of our core values as their core values because there's some selection bias happening there. And so you end up with this. It's part of the reason why it's so fun, because they're all like-minded. Where as you look at the broader entrepreneurial spectrum, not the most don't grow that fast. A little slower, sometimes a lot slower, sometimes a lot faster too. We've had lots of companies that are growing 200% per year, and they're $100 million companies. But so that's where I would say is the general who's there, why they're there, and why they're a client.
And I want to actually say this for a future discussion, because some of the most interesting talks I've had with you are the role of talent. I don't want to get too into this because we're only at 5 minutes left, but the role of talent as a component of an operating system, meaning you have the right person doing the right thing at the right time until they're no longer the right person doing the right thing at the right time. Then you find another right person doing the right thing at the right time. Yeah. And while that's easy to say, there's a humanity to that. That's harder because it's not just the right person doing the right thing at the right time. It's my friend Mark, and I like seeing him at work, and I trust him, and there's all these other things. You talk about EOS as a mechanism this is not your words, I'm not saying you put it this way, but sort of to treat people like they're components, making sure that the right component comes in at the right time, and then the right component is pulled out at the right time, replaced with the new right component.
Yeah, so it's definitely a topic because it's kind of it is sort of that, but in one hand, completely and utterly opposite. So I would call what you described as a command and control culture, where people are thought of as replaceable parts, not as humans, really. They're here to do a job, and there's for a short time, and, see you later. That's not the approach that we take. We Dan Sullivan calls it unique ability. We talk about every single individual is a unique gift, only one like them that has ever existed, the only one like them that ever will. And so we take that approach with everything that we do. We express it through our tool of delegate and elevate and core values and our accountability chart. And we say, look, if this person's not a fit for your company, we owe it to them to really help. And we do this ourselves. We help them find the next place they do fit. Because why would you spend your precious life, short amount of time on this planet, doing things you don't like with people you don't like? So to me, it's not about thinking people about replaceable components like a conveyor belt or something. It's thinking about fit and saying, I'm doing the right thing by you as a human, by saying, you're a fit here. You can't help me get what I want. You're not having any fun. I'm not having any fun. Let's go find a spot that would, and maybe that's in the company, and maybe it's not. Right. Either is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Well, that's
human than parts.
Well, we'll wrap it up. I just want to say that your description of the audience of EOS-minded folks is absolutely true. I have been part of different types of entrepreneur gatherings, and I know you have been as well. Mm-hmm. And one of them that's totally based on revenue. It brings out amazing people, but if there's a gathering that's based entirely on how fast your company is growing in revenue terms, it brings out amazing people. But culture is not the word I would use. It's a little bit more macho and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a big fan of and a defender of the sort of bold, arrogant Elon Musks of the world, because those are the kinds of people that make incredible things happen.
Yeah.
But they are also challenging to be around. And so EOS has this, it's just a blend of, these are companies that are very growth minded, but the individuals are also very culture minded, like you just said about unique and so when a couple thousand get together, there's much more sharing and willingness to help one another than in other gatherings I've attended.
Yeah, it's designed to bring out that abundance mindset, the leveraging and collaboration of human ingenuity and creativity.
Well, I'm going to be one of those people on Friday morning, 10 a.m., and I can't wait to get the chance to spend time with that group. And you're you preside over the whole thing with a kind of a detached arrogance that you're known for.
Yes, totally detached. Well, speaking of unique ability, Jill Young will be the MC again this year. Chances are people won't even see me, which is kind of just the way I like it. And if that's detached arrogance, okay.
No. Actually, last year in Indianapolis, there was a part of it. You threw a great party with at the football stadium, and there was some sort of a kicking and throwing competition. And you were like, you wouldn't put the damn ball down. You were like, you couldn't be pulled off the field.
Right. Hey, I can still throw a ball 60 yards, and any chance I get, I'm throwing it.
That's why all of these EOS events are now pretty much geared around football.
if I had my way, we would just be at Indianapolis every year, and it would just get more and more football focused. Or
Right.
at any stadium. If anybody else wants to rent their stadium to us, we'll take that too.
2,000 person touch football scramble.
Yes. Or flag football tournament, that'd be fun.
Right. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is get the ideas going for 2025.
That's right.
All right,
All
Mark.
right, Louis.
Well, I'll see you in San Diego next week. I can't wait.
All right. See you there.
See you, pal.